Welcome back, my beautiful humans, to another episode of If I Die Tomorrow. It is a really hot and humid and glorious kind of day. I am so glad that you joined me again today. This one might surprise you. I want to start today's episode by bringing up a movie from a few years back with starred Eddie Murphy. I have no idea how it did at the box office. Don't really care. But it was called 1,000 Words. And that movie has actually stuck with me all this time. The story goes like this. Eddie Murphy's character gets tied to a magical bahati tree in his backyard, and every time he speaks a word, a leaf falls off the tree. When the last leaf drops, that's it. His time on earth is up. So suddenly, every single word carries massive high stakes value. He literally cannot afford to waste them on fluff, snark, or meaningless chatter. Let's do a quick reality check on ourselves. Yeah. Imagine that tree was planted in your backyard. You wake up on a rainy Tuesday and you're trying to merge on the highway, somebody cuts you off, and you have already wasted 47 leaves yelling at your steering wheel before you even had any caffeine. Or think about scrolling social media. You read a take you don't agree with, or just kind of rub each other the wrong way. So you spend 150 leaves typing out an essay to try and prove that person wrong. By 10 a.m., most of us would be standing in our backyard with an empty tree and dead foliage, wondering where it all went. And how it went so quickly. We treat our words like cheap plastic confetti because we assume we'll never run out of them. But what if we actually start paying attention to the price tag? And I have been doing this a little bit more recently. You start and stop kind of thing. And I will tell you that there are some days that it's really, really hard. I will say it's no secret that the volume of noise in this world right now is so loud. And frankly, really mean. Society has gotten extraordinarily fast at throwing around sharp words, snark, name-calling, passive-aggressive comments, and quick judgments. We see it everywhere. It happens a lot behind the safety and anonymity of a keyboard. But it also does bleed out into face-to-face, everyday interactions. See it at the grocery store. We see it on the videos all the time. Somebody getting in somebody else's face, or, hearing somebody being called the B word, or, an a-hole, or, any of them. We get snappy with the barista who got our order wrong. We roll our eyes at the coworker who asked a simple question. We drop subtle passive-aggressive verbal grenades on people that we actually care about. And we never even stop to think twice. I try to figure out why. Why? And sometimes, I told you, sometimes the why doesn't matter, but we're all exhausted. We're overstimulated, but mostly because we've forgotten the weight of what those words that come out of our mouth equals. When we feel anonymous, or we're just hidden behind a steering wheel or a phone, or even a camera that's not on, it takes almost zero effort to unleash a mean comment. It feels like throwing a pebble into the abyss and it just disappears. And you move on with your day. Except it didn't disappear. Your pebble landed on another human being. And now that human being sits with it in their head, sometimes replaying it while they're trying to fall asleep at night. There's another shift that's happened quietly over the last few years. And I think this is where we've really kind of lost our way. I know sometimes I have, because it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to ignore. We stopped separating a person's behavior from their actual identity. I used to tell my boys, and I said it before, let my voice be louder. If somebody said that that was stupid, they weren't saying they were stupid. They were saying what they did was stupid. Completely separate. Action was stupid. Person is not. But we stopped separating that for some reason. If someone cuts us off in traffic, they become a selfish whatever, and their driving choice is who they've become. We instantly label them as terrible, garbage human beings. Someone drops a rude comment online or responds poorly in a meeting, we don't say, wow, they must be having a really rough day. Nope, we say, that person is toxic. Because, we also have this horrible thing of, we need to label everyone. And there's no way that it's just a one-off. That must be who they really are deep down to their core. We take a single snapshot moment of someone's bad behavior and we turn it into their whole identity. We erase their humanity so that we feel justified in tearing them down. Because, that's what we do, right? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be that person. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you made a mistake? I can tell you it was earlier today. And I knew as soon as I made it that my husband was going to call me. And he did. And then I laughed, which made him madder. But because I already knew that he was going to call me because I had made a mistake. And I will say, when was the last time I acted poorly or reacted poorly? Probably as soon as I hung up the phone. I said a few things. Cost me a few leaves. But then I had to remind myself, nope, I made a mistake. I needed to own it. His reaction is his reaction. I can't control his reaction. I can't control his happiness because, you know what? That's not my job. I don't want it to be my job. Anyway, I will say, after snapping at someone and being honest about it, or I said something that I instantly regretted because I was overwhelmed, stressed out, grieving, tired. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to give bad behavior an excuse. But I am trying to let us see the other side. Because do you want the whole world to judge your entire worth as a human being on a snapshot of 5 minutes or less? Of course not. You want grace. You want people to see that although you had a momentary behavior lapse, that's not who you are. And I know that. You know that. But we forget. It's so easy to forget. If today were truly your last day on earth, would you want to be remembered for your worst 5 minutes? And more importantly, do you want your legacy to be the person who made sure everyone else paid for theirs? I don't want that. I don't even want that kind of responsibility. That's way too much. I already have enough on my plate. I don't need that. This brings us back to the heart of why this podcast exists. If I died tomorrow, what did my words leave behind? Well, I know I would hope that they left behind hope and maybe a little wisdom, peace and comfort. When you filter your speech through the lens of impermanence, everything kind of changes. The urge to get the last word in on a petty argument doesn't seem as important as it used to. The need to leave a snarky comment under a stranger's post almost feels absurd, because we realize that our words are finite, just like our lives, and they actually carry real equity. So here's my Coleyism for this episode. Never spend $1 million word on a 10-cent moment. Yep, I'm going to repeat it again. Never spend $1 million word on a 10-cent moment. Your words have $1 million power. They can heal a damaged relationship. They can build somebody's confidence. They can offer genuine comfort. They can create an unforgettable memory. Why on earth are we spending that kind of value on a 10-cent traffic jam, a 10-cent internet debate, or a 10-cent petty disagreement? See, when you finally realize the weight and the value of your words, it changes how you want to use them. When you treat your words as the valuable currency that they actually are, you stop throwing them away on cheap drama. So let's turn this into something practical. I told you I've kind of been doing this experiment. Obviously, I am wasting. Actually, I'm not wasting. I am using some of my leaves for this conversation because I think it's important. I think it's helpful. If you don't, I'm sorry. But these are my words. I don't want you to just think, yeah, Coley, you make a good point, but what do you want me to do? I want you to try 24 hours. 24 hours. And I'm going to call it the Finite Leaf Challenge. Pretend you actually have that tree in your backyard, if that helps. I mean, some people really need the imagery. And if you are one of them, you have that tree in your backyard. For the next day, pretend you have the tree, and for every word you speak, written or spoken, you lose a leaf. Because we don't want to lose all of our leaves in 24 hours. I'm going to tell you to apply a 3-second pause. Whew. I'm really hot. Before you react to anything, pause. 3 seconds. I don't care if it's a rude email. I don't care if it's a comment. I don't care if it is somebody in your household. But picture in that 3 seconds a single leaf falling for every word that you'd like to say out loud or typed. Is it worth a leaf? Ask yourself. I will tell you that there has been a few times it is not worth the leaf. I have stopped myself because it was not worth the leaf. And if it's not worth the leaf, let it go. Next, this one is a little bit harder. Separate the person from the act. If someone acts rude or careless towards you today, reframe it instantly in your mind. Say to yourself, wow, they're displaying some really frustrating behavior right now. Instead of they're a bad person because they're displaying frustrating behavior right now, watch how quickly you can diffuse your urge to attack them when you recognize that it's their behavior that's frustrating, not the person. It's not always easy. And I think we're all going to struggle with that for the rest of our lives. But if at least we try, right? I mean, we get some effort. We get some, recognition from trying. And I know I keep talking to you about saving your leaves, but this last one is spend 5 high-value words in the next 24 hours. And it's going to be more than 5 words because I'd actually like you to spend 5 whole sentences. Granted, you can make the sentence as short or as long as you'd like. But before the day ends, intentionally speak or send at least $5 million sentences. Tell someone you appreciate them. Offer an unprompted compliment. Or say something kind to a family member or a stranger. Remember, what you put out, you get back. Use words you'd be proud to have as your final ones. Yeah, adds a whole nother layer. Because again, if I die tomorrow, these were my last words, would I be proud of them? We don't need to have it all figured out. We don't need others to think that we are perfect or beyond reproach. But we also don't need to walk around on eggshells, terrified of saying the wrong thing. This isn't about guilt, it's about intentionality. Your words are building a legacy, whether you like it or not, in real time, one sentence at a time. Every conversation you have today is a tiny house that you're building in that relationship with whomever you're having the conversation with. And it also leaves behind a memory for them, whether you realized you are making one or not. Make sure you're putting out into the world today something you would be content leaving behind tomorrow. I want to thank you for joining me today, spending a few of your leaves with me. I hope you try the experiment. I hope it gives you a new take, a new look, a new understanding about not only yourself, but this world around you. And as always, be kind, be grateful, stay humble. Until next time.